Hello, StreamYard. Hello, welcome. This is Dr. Kamani, licensed clinical psychologist. Today, we're going to be talking about Black women and toxic jobs. Is your fear robbing you from your freedom? We have a very special guest today. We've been talking about Black women in toxic work environments and healing from it. I've been talking about this for over a year, and this conversation is needed. I've gotten a lot of feedback from other Black women who are reaching out to me and saying, thank you for having these conversations. And by sharing my own healing journey, my hope is that I'm supporting the healing of other Black women so that we know that we don't have to stay in these toxic jobs. We deserve better. We're not alone, and we do have options. So I want us to remember that. So again, we're going to be talking about fear. So a lot of times when we think about fear, we think that fear is a sign that we need to stay at something. But sometimes we may be fearful, but that doesn't mean stay. That just means be aware of it and make some plans, right? So I just want to say to the audience that I don't want anyone to feel that if they're fearful, that that means they need to stay or tolerate things that they do not deserve. I was fearful of leaving my toxic job. I left. I was fearful of doing it. I know a lot of other Black women. I've helped a lot of Black women leave their jobs, even though they're fearful. Okay. So I want to just keep that in mind that you are still going to be fearful. Okay. So I reached out to my very special guest who represents the epitome of authenticity and really living life on her own terms and creating her own queendom. So she has truly made a way out of a no way. And I'm so inspired by her. I've watched her videos all the time, Alicia Renice. Please subscribe to her channel on YouTube if you have not already done so. It is outstanding. And just, you remind me also, Alicia, of my Spellman hymn talks about undaunted by the fight. You are undaunted by the fight and you are living life on your own terms. So I'm so happy to have you here. So I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself and then we'll get started into the conversation.
Well, thank you, number one, for having me. Thanks for considering me to even come here. This is awesome. And all that you said was very generous, very kind. Because sometimes even though you're saying that I seem that I'm undaunted by the fight, I want to be clear that I struggle with fear just like everybody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Like I am not fearless. But
Yeah.
that's the thing. You don't have to be fearless to, live your life, to live your best life. But my name's
Exactly.
Alicia Renice. I am a multi-passionate artist. I'm a healing artist and a creative facilitator. Those are my titles for now. I'm open to changing them later in the future, but that's what resonates with me right now. So I help Black women chase their dreams, but also love themselves. Because if you're chasing a dream without love for self, what's the point? You're always going to be
Exactly.
chasing, yeah. You're always going to be chasing
Mhm.
approval and trying to find yourself outside of yourself, but who you are altogether is always enough, has always been enough. So, yes, thank you for having
Yes.
me.
So, Alicia, what you said was so key, right? So, looking for external validation, we have to look internal because the external is probably always going to be, trying to tell us this, don't shine so brightly, or there's something wrong with you, and you need to get this product to feel better, or you need to get this job to feel better, right? But we're like, no, 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 it's all internal. And, Alicia, the reason that I thought about this topic was that I did a LinkedIn poll recently, and I asked Black women, I said, if you're in a toxic job, what keeps you from leaving, right? And the vast majority of them said fear, right? So fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of, I got to pay bills, right? So that's why I thought of you because you had just done this outstanding video about fear, right? And moving forward with fear. And you said, I'm going to paraphrase, so I'm going to get it off, right? But you said, don't let fear cost you your freedom or your dreams. Oh my God, that spoke to my soul when you said that. So can you elaborate a little bit more for the audience what it is that you meant by that?
Absolutely. I think fear, like I always say, fear is necessary, right? We need fear. Fear keeps us safe. It keeps us from harming ourselves. It keeps us from harming other people. But
Yeah.
sometimes when we allow fear too much room to, make decisions for us, we live a life where we feel entrapped. We feel
Yes.
enclosed. And so a lot of people, because of fear of the unknown, fear of what could happen, what could not happen, fear of success, even sometimes
Yeah.
because of those things, we stop living. Like we stop
Yeah.
living and we stop growing, we stop trying. And the thing is, a lot of people try to, what I notice with people who struggle with fear, and for myself as well, I will
Mhm.
say, I'm afraid to do this thing, right? I'm afraid to do this thing. But in the back of my head, I still want to live the life that I want to live.
Mm.
So even though I'm afraid, I still have
Yeah.
this like this realistic version of me saying, no, we can't do this because if I lose my job, I'm gonna die, right? Like that's the
Mm.
ultimate fear. The ultimate fear is
Yes,
death.
yes,
Right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And so on the other hand though, I have this part of me that knows that what I'm doing is not who I'm supposed to be. Like I don't want to do anything out of fear, right? Like if we do
Mhm.
something out of fear, it's really out of lack. It's really out of like scarcity. It's not really out of like understanding that we are capable of doing beyond what we can see right here and right now.
Mm.
You think about children, they
Mhm.
might be afraid to go to fifth grade, but eventually they learn the things in fifth grade to go to sixth grade and on, and so on and so on. And so the
Yes,
same for us. We gain the experiences we have, but I feel like there's always a tension. There's always tension in a moment where we feel like it's time to move on. And when we allow fear to kind of drive the ship, so to speak, then we allow fear to entrap us and to enclose us, and we
yes,
end up not living. We end up existing and surviving, but not really living. So
yes. We're in survival
yeah,
mode, right? Not, we're
yeah,
not thriving and we're not living in our true purpose. And so you also talked about it's like this disingenuous way of living. So you're like
yeah,
living out of fear. And
yes,
so you're not living your best self. And it's that sense of misery, right? That you're
yeah.
also letting yourself down.
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
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 Hmm. Can you share with the audience a little bit? How did you evolve to this place? Because this is not an easy place to be in, right? Like
No, yeah.
I'm kind of approaching that, but you're like head on, like, look, this is the life that I want. This is what I'm creating for myself, and
Yeah.
I want to show other people, right?
Yeah.
How did you get to that point? What's been your journey to get there?
Ooh, a lot of failure, honestly. So I was a very timid and shy child. I didn't want to talk to nobody. Don't look at me. I'm not here. That's very much that's very much how I was as a child,
And I
right?
can see
Which
how
is
you are now, right?
yes, yes. And I don't know where that came from. I think it was just my natural disposition. But
Mm,
also growing up, I became fearful of other people's opinions because I was a people pleaser. So I was afraid of letting people
mm,
down, of disappointing people, and I found myself being these kind of fractioned off versions of myself, not really living in
yeah,
authenticity, like living when I'm with this person, I'm this way. When I'm with this person, I'm this way. And they were all like different facets of my personality, but it
yeah.
wasn't inherently me, right? Like all of
Mm,
me. And so I
mm.
think I learned from being in a relationship with people who didn't really mean me well that who I was wasn't enough. So,
Ooh.
yeah. So it took me years. Like I'm 32 now. I think this journey of becoming brave, like I feel like I'm always in the process of becoming brave. I think it started around 25, 26. Like
Mm,
literally, I had a fallout with a lot of friends. This person that I
mm,
was putting forward, people pleasing them, being a doormat for them, they were literally
mm.
abusing me, right? And
Ooh,
so,
yes.
yeah, yeah. And my worst fear had been realized. I lost my friends for being myself. And that was my
Mm,
fear, right? My fear was I'm going to lose these people that I love who don't necessarily
yeah,
love me if I'm
yeah.
all of myself. And I was all of myself and I did lose them. And my fears were realized. But what I also realized, even though it hurt, it sucked, I
Yeah,
mourned. On the other side of that, I'm more free. So it's almost
yeah.
like what I was fearing wasn't even necessarily that they would leave me. I was
Hmm.
fearing that I wasn't enough, right?
Mm,
Like
hmm.
it's like the fear below the fear. And so
Yes.
by being away from them, it allowed me to heal. It gave me space and time to realize, you know what,
Yeah.
I am enough. But being
Hmm.
attached to them, I would have never
Hmm.
known that.
Yes.
You
In
know,
a way,
so
like the friends were kind of distractions from what the core issue, the core pain was, the core
yep.
fear, right?
Yes.
And so once they were gone, the distraction were gone. It's like, oh, no, no, that wasn't it. It was me.
Yeah.
I was fearful of myself that I wasn't good enough. And I was using external things to validate my existence. And it's
Exactly.
kind of like with a job, right? So a lot of times you think about jobs. You talked about this too, Alicia, about, in high school, you were like super high performing, right?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
going over and academically, extracurricular, like you were doing it all, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times as Black women, we are taught that we have to work twice as hard, you push yourself, right? And we know that as Black women, we are soaring,
Yeah.
right? In terms of,
Absolutely.
opportunities, like we're soaring.
Hmm.
However, we recognize that when we get to these places and we prove our worth, we think
Yeah.
we prove our worth, we are in environments where they're showing us, you're not enough.
Yeah.
You're not enough. And what we do is, unfortunately, is that we keep trying harder. Like, I'm going to show you, I'm going to prove to you, I'm going to prove to you. But what causes that is killing us, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
killing us. It's killing us physically, mentally, spiritually, all these different things because we're looking at the external. But you hit it. You talked
Yeah.
about we really are not addressing that internal, like, am I enough? Right.
Yes.
And I think that when we know that we are enough and you know that you're grounded in your greatness, you're able to say, wait a minute, I deserve better than this. And this
Yes.
job does not define me. And if this job cannot give me what I need, or the job does not respect or affirm me, I got to go. Right. I got to go.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes. And
Yes.
Alicia, you said something else that was so powerful too, is that I think that as Black women, we are so relational many times, right? And so,
Yes.
when we have, our sister friends, or we think we're our sister friends, we are so dedicated and devoted to them,
Yeah.
even if they may hurt us,
Yeah.
even if it reveals to us that they are not truly our friends. I did
Yes.
a panel about all skin folk and kinfolk. So sometimes that is so painful, right?
It
When another
is.
Black woman hurts us. So how do you get to that point of saying to yourself, Alicia, man, my friends or the people I thought were my friends betrayed me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I'm okay. Like, the worst fear happened, but you're still standing. What would you
Yeah.
say to a Black woman who's like, I'm scared, like you just said, like
Yeah.
the fear of dying,
Yeah.
just at a primal level, right? The
Yeah.
fear of dying.
Yeah.
So what would you say to a Black woman who is saying, you know what, I hear you all, but I don't have that luxury, right? Because, and these are all the things I've heard from family, friends, clients, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't leave because I got bills to pay. I
Right.
can't leave because I'm a single mother and there's
Yeah.
nobody else who's gonna, I can't leave because anything else I go to is gonna be worse than this. I
Yeah.
can't leave because it's better to stay with the devil you know than the devil you don't know, right? So all these things, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that we are building up in terms of the fear.
Yeah.
What would you say to a Black woman who came to you and said any of those things? I cannot
Yeah.
leave. I'm scared. I hate this job, but I have to stay here. What would you
Yeah.
say to her?
Well, the first thing I would say is that your fears are valid, right? I'm not one of these people that are going to say, like, your fears are lies, punch them in the face, all these different things. No, the fear is valid, right? Because you get the
Yeah.
idea of what could happen from either experience or from, watching someone else go through the same thing. But I would
Mm-hmm.
also ask them to question, what is the cost, right? So I
Mm,
was actually at a job that I hated for a few years, and it
mm,
literally was wearing on my body. Like, I had to get
mm.
MRIs, I had to go to physical therapy.
Ooh,
I had to go to the chiropractor, and she said that
ooh.
my spine was like misaligned, and like it looked like I had like suffered trauma to my body. And I said,
What?
nothing happened. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
deep.
yes, physical manifestations of the stress of the job,
And it was
and
curving you over, right? Like it was like
yes,
beating you down,
yes,
right?
quite literally,
Oh my
yes.
gosh.
Yeah, yeah. And for me, the fear was, well, if I leave this job, I'm not going to have any money. But also, the other side is, if I stay at this job, I will probably be disabled. I was also on
Yes.
FMLA because I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder. So I was on FMLA. Like, there were a lot of things like working, and my job was triggering my depression, I should say.
Yeah.
So,
Ooh.
so it was bad. It was really
Yes.
bad. It was really
Yes,
bad.
yes. So you're
Yeah.
talking about like situational issues that trigger our depression, right? Or our
Yes.
mental health. And I can definitely attest to that, just personally and also with my clients and family friends, that sometimes these environments are traumatizing.
Yes.
They are literally traumatizing. And I tell people, when they talk about fear, I say, I hear you because I've been there. I'm not going to discount the fear. The
Yep.
fear is realistic. I understand it. However, is it worth your life? Is it worth your family? Is it worth your friends? Is it worth? No, it's not. It's
Yeah.
it's truly not. And Alicia, I don't know if you're aware, but I read this article recently and it talked about Black women are now dying at earlier ages, and we are getting diseases at earlier ages, right?
Yeah.
Because of external stresses like jobs.
Yeah.
And so, what would you say? Because I know Stephanie Perry talks a lot about this too, like Black excellence, right?
Yes.
So,
Ooh.
what would you say to Black women? And I know that I've been raised like this too. What would you say to Black women that we have to just reach the high, you know what I'm saying? No matter what, we just grind and hustle and hustle and hustle and hustle. What would you say to a Black woman, who's kind of caught up in this? She's in a toxic job. She hates it.
Yeah.
She hates it. She takes a leave. I took a leave for a year, right?
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
heal because
Yeah.
I knew, and you knew too, right? That you could not heal in the same environment that was causing you harm.
No,
right? You
absolutely not.
cannot heal. And I
Yeah.
just want to say to any Black woman, if you're in these environments, really pay attention to yourself, pay attention to your body signs, pay attention to how you're presenting. What's her Nadia Lopez? I don't know if you saw this, Alicia. She did a video recently that talked about the physical toll that being in a toxic job was having on her, but she also had a video with her daughter. And
Hmm.
her daughter was tearful and talking about how devastating it was for her to see her mother being treated like this. And
Yeah.
her mother was doing all this trying to help children, right? And people
Hmm.
were attacking her. And I could relate to that on so many levels, Alicia. My own sons did the same with me, right? When I
Yeah.
was on leave, they said, "Are you going back to that job?" And I said, "I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm trying to figure out." They said, "Please don't go back.
Yeah.
Please don't go back. You're not happy." Right? So thinking about how jobs not only impact us, but it also impacts those who care for us
Yep.
because they're seeing us in pain and they can't believe, like, why would somebody treat you like this? Right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
can I say something to that
Yeah,
too?
absolutely.
I did an interview recently with a woman named Asia, and she founded Black Girls Camp and Black Outside, talking about like survival outside and things like that. And she said something very profound that has stuck with me
Mm-hmm.
because it's
Mm-hmm.
true. She said, at your job, you give your job the best of you. You give your
Mm-hmm.
job the best of you, the best time of day, all your energy, all your like effort and resources, and you come home to the people that you love and you're unable to be 100% fully there because you're exhausted, you're distracted, you're stressed out, right? You're
Yes,
thinking about
yes,
tomorrow. Like I
yes.
remember coming home and my mother being like frazzled, right? And I haven't seen her all day. Like I'm just like, hey,
Mm,
I've had a stressful day too at school.
yeah.
Not as stressful as work, but I would come home and I would be hurt because I'm like, well, dang, you haven't seen me all day, but I seem like I'm a nuisance to you. You know what I mean? Like
Uh,
feeling that way. And so as an adult now, I realize her job was stressing her out, right? But it has
yes,
ramifications that go beyond just the body, just the mind, right? It affects
yes,
everybody you encounter. So
yes,
yeah,
right. And you think about, I'm at this job so that I can provide for my family, but what are you robbing? What are you taking away from your family by being at these jobs that are sucking our souls, right?
that's
Sucking our
good.
souls, sucking our energy, all of that. It's not worth it. So
Yeah.
those we love most are not benefiting, they're being harmed as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so really taking a different step. And I
Yeah.
remember something else. I'm shouting out Nadia Lopez. She did this post that was so outstanding. She said, "Why kill yourself for a job that would not even mourn for you at your grave?"
A word.
Okay,
A word.
girl, like, it's not worth it. It's not
No.
worth it. Yes,
No.
yes, yes. So when you think about also, because we think about, healing and community, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
how was it that you were able to evaluate this one friend group, or so-called friends? They weren't your
Yeah.
friends,
Yeah.
right? True
Yeah.
friends. How did you then identify who your true friends are, right? Because
Hmm.
when we think about healing, we think about moving forward, all these different things, we are better for those who are around us too,
Yeah.
right? Who really have our
Yes.
back. And, there's a saying, I don't know who said it, but, walk like you have 5,000 ancestors walking behind you, right? And I
That's
know that
beautiful.
I feel, lifted up and uplifted because I know how many people fought for me to even be here today, right?
Yes.
For me to be able to go to school, be able to be a psychologist, all these different things, all these people fought for me. I
Yeah.
would never know who they are, but I know they're behind me, pushing me. But I have a circle of sister friends. I have a
Hmm.
circle of family who are really there to support me.
Yeah.
So, how would you, or what would you say to Black women in terms of how do you, number one, evaluate your circle?
Hmm.
And how do you surround yourself with people who affirm you and don't perpetuate that fear? Because a lot of
Hmm.
times people project their fears on you, right? So I
Absolutely.
know that when I was ready to leave my job, right, there were certain people who I could tell were very fearful, and they would give me this bad advice because they were fearful, right?
Yes.
Or they couldn't see options. But then
Yes.
I had another group of sister friends who were like, no, 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 girl, I
Yeah.
see better than you. You deserve better. Don't tolerate this. You got to go, right? We
Yeah.
got you. So, how do you do that? Because sometimes we have people around us who, again, are causing us harm. We think we're in the same boat, right? And they're in the back making the boat sink, right? So
Yeah.
how do you evaluate your circle?
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, that phrase that you said, "walk like you have 5,000 ancestors behind you." The image of that is just gorgeous to me, like just breathtaking.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but also, what I will say though is that every friend that I talked about, whether it's pursuing a dream or leaving my job, not all of them were supported, much like you said, because they were afraid too, right? So
Yeah.
you have to assess. It's not necessarily that our friends don't love us.
Yeah.
Sometimes they project their fear onto us because they don't
Yeah.
want us to fail, right? They don't want us
Yes.
to suffer and struggle. But
Yes.
you have to really consider who you're sharing your dreams with. Like,
True.
be real. Sometimes we're asking people to give what they don't have. Like, we're
True.
asking people to give, to affirm our dreams when they're afraid of doing their own or chasing their own,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so for those friends, we have grace for them. But I think
Hmm.
that sometimes it's important to sometimes, yes, carve out a space or a group of people. They might not be friends that you hang around with or you grew up with. They might be people online, right? People that you find in a
Mm.
program or something, or,
Hmm. Hmm.
at a
Hmm.
meetup, people that are
Yeah.
on their way to the same thing. But I will
Yes.
also say just general safety for friendship. Can you breathe around them? Like, are you
Mm.
holding your breath? Like, are you
Mm.
holding in your stomach? Like, your body
Mm.
has physical expressions of you not being safe. And if you feel like
Yes.
you're not being, if you feel like you can't be safe or can't be all of yourself without, harm, whatever
Yes.
way that whatever if, whether physical, verbal, emotional, like manipulation, if you feel like you can't be safe around those people, those are not the people for you because they will kill you. Like, and
Ooh.
I say that obviously physically, but also spiritually, soulfully. Like, they'll kill your
Yes.
dreams, they'll take all your
Yes.
energy. Like, and the worst case scenario is what we saw, right, with rest in peace, Shanquella, right?
Hmm.
Like, this
Yes.
woman was around people who she was not safe around. It literally cost her
Yes.
life, and so
Absolutely.
that's what I would say. Like, if you don't feel safe around them, then that's a
Yeah.
red flag. But
Yes.
also understand that people have different, you shouldn't just seek out an echo chamber. People have different experiences, different things to offer you, different
Yeah.
wisdom that they can share. They're my friends. I have friends who don't necessarily think the same way that I do. And
Hmm.
it's beneficial that we share space
Hmm.
together. But I
Hmm.
never feel unsafe with them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and so
Yeah.
that's the difference. Yeah.
And I think also, Alicia, when you talk about like, can you be your true self around them? I know that I've been around some Black women where, I think that my dreams of sisterhood sometimes
Mm-hmm.
clouded my perception of really what was happening, right? So
Yeah.
I was not able to recognize certain signs. And I think
Yeah.
it's important for Black women that we, recognize that sometimes there's people on our side and sometimes they're not, and they may look like us. And
Yeah.
that's hard. But when you start filtering, so I know that for myself, there was one particular Black woman I'm thinking about, and I noticed that I would filter, I would be so mindful of what I said around her
Yeah.
because I was like, okay, if I say something, be aware that what I'm saying is going to go to other people, right? So be very mindful of that. And she even told me at one point, Alicia, which was so like disorienting. She even told me one time that she had sized me up and she had seen what I was good at and what I wasn't good at, right? And just that feeling from another Black woman, again, the importance of evaluating our circles is
Yes.
so key. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask you something, Alicia,
Go
and
ahead.
I'm gonna because I saw your beautiful video you did with your mom. That
Oh,
was
yay.
so touching. I love
Thank
that
you.
video. I loved it, right? So
Yes.
I'm just wondering, and I'm sure many other women listening are wondering this too. What about your mom? Was she supportive of this journey in relation to living your dreams,
Gotcha.
right?
Yeah.
Leaving your job? Because I know I have a story. I'm sure many other Black women have a story about their moms
Yeah.
and these issues. So can
Yeah.
you share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. No. A short answer. Short answer is no. But again, I think it
Uh-huh.
was coming from a place of wanting me to be safe, wanting me to
Yes.
be okay.
Yes.
However, even when I was in school, I knew that college wasn't for me. It took me 9 years to get my
Mm-hmm.
degree.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of the similar depression, I didn't have the words for it or the vocabulary or nor the
Yeah.
diagnoses.
Yeah.
But I knew that that's what I was struggling with, like looking back, depression,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety. Also, I don't like competing. I don't like the whole
Mm.
Black excellence thing. I did a whole video on that, and like got a lot of pushback for that video, which is fine. I expected
Uh-huh.
some of it. But I think my mom just wanted me to be successful. And
Yeah.
so we have this general idea or understanding of what success looks like.
Yes.
And for me not to complete my degree in 4 years, for me to like be wavering back and forth with like artistry and like, but I knew what was right in my soul, right? Like I
Mm.
knew this wasn't good. Like, I don't want to be here. I want to write
Yes.
music. I want to write books. Like, this is not who I am. But I was trying so hard to push myself into a box. And I
Mm.
think for us, it was a lot of tension because she wanted the best for me, but I
Yeah.
knew that the best for me was not what she saw for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
and
Yes.
and it wasn't void of love, but it did cause
Yeah.
a lot of friction between us. At this point, though, I think my mother has definitely accepted. It's taken some years. I'm 32
Yes.
again, so I went to school at 18. So it's taken some years.
Okay.
But when I tell you, no matter, even when she was wanting me to do other things, my mother is the loudest person in the stand. She is the person always there, front row at the concerts. You know what I mean? Like, she's always there, and I feel like she's
Yeah.
just come to this point where she's like, okay, my daughter's an artist. Like,
Yes.
my daughter's a weirdo, and it's fine, right? Like,
Yes.
it's all good. But it definitely took some time, and it took me being honest. It took me being honest with myself and being brave to be like,
Yes.
I I don't have to ask people permission to be myself, not even my
Yes.
parents. You know what I mean? Like,
That
cause
part. Yes.
yeah,
That part, right? Because my aunt told me, she was like, nobody else is living your life. You are,
yeah,
right? And so, yes, we try to please other people. We try to, fit into these expectations.
mm-hmm.
But when we recognize that that's not us, we have to live our true lives, no
Yes,
matter who, right?
yeah,
But I appreciate you talked about it took a process, right?
yes,
It was a process.
yeah,
Mom wasn't on board at
no,
first, and I'm sure a lot of Black women can relate to that.
yeah,
My mother absolutely was not on board. When I told her I was leaving
yeah,
my job, she was like, what? Like, she
yes,
just could not believe it because, in her generation, right?
yeah,
You get a job, you stay at a job, you retire, you get a pension, you live well. And I was like, no, 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 no. First of all, I don't think I'm gonna make it to retirement living at
okay,
this job. I'm gonna die. Okay. So
yes,
I'm not gonna make it to retirement.
yeah,
And you're not understanding how harmful this is to me. But I recognize I have options and I'm gonna go explore those options.
yeah,
So my hope is that my mother eventually gets there,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But also recognizing there are certain things I cannot share with my mother at this point because she's not there. She's
That,
not
yep,
there,
yep.
right?
It'll
So
save
there's
you some
other,
frustration.
yeah,
Yeah,
and there's tension, like you
mm-hmm.
talked about, right? There's tension, there's lack of understanding. And so when we think about healing, part of our healing is maybe share only certain parts with certain
Yes,
people
yeah,
about what we're going through. And we surround ourselves with those who are supportive. You talked about being in groups. I got into coaching. I'm in several coaching programs,
yeah,
right? Around, and particularly with other Black women, right? Other
yes,
Black women who are like-minded. We hear a lot about your success is very much influenced by those who are in your circle.
yeah,
And so being aware of that. And I want to give a shout out to Dr. TK, who was my first business coach, right? In terms of really helping other Black clinicians,
mm,
because that thinks about, okay, I'm not only healing myself and helping myself, but think about how many other Black people are being touched by all these Black clinicians
yeah,
doing their work, right?
yeah.
And so, yes. So, Alicia, I want to read some of the comments in the chat, okay?
Sure,
Because the
sure.
chat was going, I wasn't able to keep up.
No
Okay, so
worries.
let me just keep up. Okay, so let's say, okay. Um, okay. I often think about how fear has been the driving force for most of the decisions I've made in life. I'm grateful to have this awareness, but I'm looking forward to living from a different mindset. And I think that many of us, like you said, Alicia, for a long time, most of us live out of fear, right? And as Black people, right, survival issues, just in terms of historically, we've been operating out of the survival fear mindset. And yes, there's still a level of fear in terms of what we have to be aware of as Black people, but we also recognize that we have options. And so we're like, okay, our ancestors again have fought for us to be here. And so we are going to explore and be our true selves. Did you want to
Yeah.
comment on that too?
Absolutely. I do think, like you said, our ancestors, they had to live in a state of fear because they were surviving. We have
Yeah.
privileges at this point that they did not have.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so even when we think about our parents, for example, they're growing up with the conditioning and the understanding of their parents, right? And so my
Yes.
grandmother was born in the 30s. And so her reality is very different than my reality now. And so I can
True.
honor that and not put it
Yeah.
down or even say, "Oh, they were fearful." No, they did what they had to do. They were brave. Like, our ancestors were
Absolutely.
brave, right? And so we're
Absolutely.
standing on their shoulders, and with the gift they've imparted to us, we can take that gift and take it further, you know? So yeah.
Yes. And also, Alicia, when you think about, to me, I feel like I'm giving honor to them
Yes.
to be able to walk in fear, right? And still do, right?
Yeah.
Because they were never able to do the things I was able to do,
Yeah.
but I'm giving honor to them, right? I'm showing them that I'm not going to be beat down by this oppressive system,
Yeah.
right? I'm not going to be silenced, and I'm not going to be put in a place. So all those things that they had to endure for me to be there, I'm giving honor to them to not do that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Also, I definitely feel like I'm survival mode. It feels good to say this in a safe place. Yes, you are in a safe space right now. Let's see. Same happened to me. Being on my job caused many health problems for me. Left and been using the last year to get back to being healthy. Thank you that for leaving and taking care of yourself. Absolutely. Because I said before, you cannot heal in the same environment that's harming you. Thank you for sharing this. Physical manifestations due to workplace toxicity. We need to recognize our priorities. Absolutely. I can clearly recall these same moments with my mother. Yes. Absolutely. This happened to me. I'm not going to tell where this person works, but she identified. Oh, shoot. Let me take this out. Oh, no. Ah, sorry. I'm
Sorry.
sorry. I didn't mean to show it. Okay. So hopefully people didn't see that much. Okay.
We
So
didn't see. We didn't see.
but she put it out there. She put it out there, right? Okay. So she and her daughter worked in the same place. She retired. She's still there. I believe we need more sisterhood talks like this on the job. Yes, yes, yes. But I do want to say this. Be mindful of conversations at the job because sometimes you can think that everybody's on the same page, but sometimes people at the job could be using that information to use against you because they're trying to promote or do other things. So be very mindful of who you talk to at the job. Just want to put that out there, okay? Because I've been there, done that, okay? My daughter saw that my job was doing to me. Oh, example, blinding headaches, chest pains, anxiety, etc. They begged me to leave. So in December 2021, I left. I've spent 2022 healing. Thank God. Thank God. Good job, sis. Move in silence. Can you comment on that? I'm not quite sure what this person meant. Move in silence.
Move in
What do you think she
silence.
meant by that?
Oh, maybe they were talking about. Sorry, I can't. Let me see the. Maybe they're talking about sharing it with specific people, like people who kill your
Oh,
dreams and things like that.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
I think some people move in silence. That doesn't necessarily work for me. Like I always need like accountability. But there
yeah.
are what I will say though, and this is something I'm learning recently because I am prone to people pleasing and to seeking validation and seeking permission from other people. I
Mhm.
consult with me and God first. That's it.
Yes,
And then I move
yes,
forward. And if I need help, then I'll share, right? But
yes,
until I get my feet on the ground working, my hands on the plow, I'm not
yes,
don't share with anybody because it's because of me, right? Like I'm
yes.
prone to self-sabotage. So I got to do what I got to do to protect myself. So,
Yes. But I think you said like to like get grounded first in terms of what God is saying to you.
yeah.
And every morning, Alicia, I say to myself, or I say to God, God, please direct me in the path that you want me to go. Please
Yeah, yeah.
direct me. Because I know that I knew, when I was at that toxic job, I was like, God, I know this is not what you wanted for me. I
Yes.
know it's not. I know it's not. I know that I did not work this hard to get to this place where I'm being so disrespected and so harmed. I
No.
knew it, right?
No. Yeah.
But the fear was holding me, right?
Yeah.
I was held hostage by the
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what, God, I'm releasing myself. And I know that you know what's best for me. So I'm open, right?
Yeah.
And being open and listening to God and being obedient
Yeah.
to what God is saying for me to do, right?
Yes.
It took a
Yes.
lot. It took a lot for me to get there. It took years, Alicia, but I did it. But I think also when you talked about moving in silence too, recognizing who are the people you can share your plans with, like who are the ones who can truly validate you or give you constructive feedback, like, hey, Alicia, maybe look at that way. But they're really trying to help you, right?
Absolutely.
So when we think about Black women and toxic jobs, and you're starting to come up with like your exit plan, because a lot of Black women, I did another poll on LinkedIn. They talked about, you know, they would be able to leave a job easier if they had an exit plan, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So when you come up with your exit plan, be mindful of who you share that exit plan with, right?
Yes.
Be
Yes.
mindful of who you're networking with, because some people, again, they're not out for your best right interest,
Yeah.
right? And I know for me and thinking about our ancestors, I just feel just such a connection to Harriet Tubman, right? Such a connection
Yeah.
to her. And I used to call myself Harriet, right, at the job, because I felt like I was helping other Black people on the Underground Railroad. And I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. Why are we have to be on Underground Railroad to talk about the rights of Blacks and Black children? That's ridiculous. That's a
Mm-hmm.
sign already, right? But I think, Alicia, what tripped me up, and I think my downfall was that I started giving my power to other people, and I started seeing other people as my Harriet, right? I
Mm,
would actually call certain people, oh, she's my Harriet. And
mm,
I was like, oh, no, 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 no,
mm-hmm.
no, because that person really was not out for my benefit. So we have to look to ourselves. Who are we conducting and for whom, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Yes, that part, I dedicated myself to a job, working 50 plus hours per week, and it had a tremendous effect on my health and with my family. My daughter felt I didn't love her because I was so irritable and tired when I got home from work.
yeah,
That's deep. That's
yeah,
deep. That goes to what she was saying before about your mom, right?
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, this scarcity mindset created by white supremacy leaves many of us feeling like we're in competition with each other. There's room for all of us.
Yeah.
Can you briefly speak about that? I've
Oh,
heard about that so
yes.
much and I've experienced that, right? So
Yeah,
that issue of competition,
yeah.
and particularly with Black women.
Yes. The reason why there is competition is because it was manufactured. It was created, right? The competition
Mm,
doesn't really exist. And I
yeah,
think that goes for the jobs everywhere, right? Because there's
yeah.
only one you. There can only be one you. So how are you going to compete with somebody else for being you, right? But someone is dangling that carrot and saying, hey, and I liken it to, I said this before, like Hunger Games, right? It's the same energy. It's like fight
Mm,
to the death for whatever this thing
mm.
is. And so you're willing to, throw people under the bus and lie on them and
Woo!
get intel and share information. Like it becomes really a dangerous place to be at, like working,
Yeah,
because people
yeah.
are trying to achieve whatever the goal is. But then you really got to count the cost. Like, even if I get this thing, what do I have to do to maintain it, right? So if I had
Ooh,
to be cutting and spiteful and ugly
yeah.
to get it, I'm gonna have to keep remaining that way to sustain it. You see what I'm
Yes.
saying? So it's like the give and take is not giving what it's supposed to be
Yes, and
giving.
Alicia,
So
think about the cost that you had to get there, right? So you
yep,
sold your soul to get where you're at, and the whole time you got to be washing your back because you know it's a treacherous environment,
yep.
and karma is going to come back and get you anyway,
Absolutely. You
right?
live
So it's
you
not
live
worth
by the
it.
sword, you die by the sword.
Exactly, exactly. And
Yep.
Alicia, I was thinking about something you said too. You referred to yourself as a weirdo, right?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I'm a weirdo too, right? And I'm proudly a weirdo
Yeah.
because I don't want to be like everybody else. Like
No.
God did not create me to be like everybody else. And being okay with knowing that, right? And
Yeah.
walking in that confidence. I think that takes a lot of time, a
Yes.
lot of healing, right? Because so many times we want to kind of fit in. We want to be like, I don't want to be like everybody else because I'm not like what everybody else is doing, number
No.
one. Number two is that, Jesus,
Hmm.
was a weirdo, right?
Hmm.
So people who are doing different things and standing up and speaking our truth, we are weirdos, right? So
Yeah.
own that. It's okay,
Yeah. And
right?
can I say one thing about
Yes,
being a weirdo? I
yes,
think weirdos, you talk about Harriet Tubman, I think the weirdos are Harriet Tubmans, for
yes,
this example. Like,
yes.
because the reason why, even when you resonate with people, whether it irritates you or there's something like yes, right? Because there's
Mhm.
something in you that knows the truth that they're saying. Like, you
Yes,
you answer the call. You know what I'm saying? And I
yes,
feel like it takes weirdos to start, new movements and new
yep,
ideas or new ways of thinking. And I'm
yep,
okay with being a weirdo if what I get in return is happiness and joy and fulfillment, and I help other people along the way. Wonderful. Because a lot of people are following the program and dying. You know what I mean?
exactly.
So yeah.
And guess what? The program is designed to keep us oppressed,
Yep.
right? So if we
Yep.
keep trying to fit in, then we will continue to be oppressed. So we
Yeah.
have to be courageous and use our voices and do things that are not expected, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes, okay. This conversation is a gift. Thank you so much, Queens. Facts. Yes, we have so many different options available to us that our ancestors didn't have.
Hmm.
The discussion is very powerful. I thought I was the only one having this problem. You are not. Thank you for putting this on. You are not. Let me just say
Yeah.
that again.
No.
I'm working to make sure that I do not come home and not connect with my children because my job takes all of me.
Mm.
They're so impressionable at 3 and 4, and I do not want them to feel unwanted or like a nuisance. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's so important again to remember that it's not only the jobs impacting us, it's impacting those who love us too,
Yes.
right? So we
Yes.
want to be able to give our best to those we love, not to jobs that are trying to kill us.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. Okay. Yes, I've been praying like that too. God has been guiding me. I'm a returning citizen and I've been at this job since my release. I've been given numerous tasks and titles. I'm currently the executive director. I run the entire organization, 6 community homes alone. I've asked for a raise. It's always no. I'm very good at what I do. However, I'm not being compensated accordingly. What should I do? Excellent question. What do you think, Alicia?
Okay, this is where I am personally in my own journey. I literally recorded a video about this yesterday. I'm reading a book called Rest is Resistance by Trisha Hershey.
I am
Trisha Hersey.
too.
Yay!
Yes,
Awesome. Yes, yes.
yes,
Oh, I love her work. I love
me
her.
too. Nat
Yes.
Ministry.
Yes. Yes. Please, if y'all haven't checked her out, please do.
Yes.
Please. So, one thing that she said to me that stuck out was letting the chips fall where they may. That's one
Mm,
thing that's been resonating with me because what I realize is that I hold on so tightly to things I don't even want, and
mm,
it's costing me my life, right? So yes, so you could be good at the job, but do you want it in this place, right?
yeah,
And so I think that sometimes we're afraid to lose our or loosen our grip on what
yeah,
we almost like the devil you said, the devil you know versus the one you
yep,
don't. Like you're
yeah.
holding on to this. But I feel like when you release those things, you're able to be more open. Like just think about clarity of mind when you can
Hmm.
rest. When you can take
Hmm.
a moment to be like, okay, because in the moment it feels like I have no other options. There's nothing else
Yeah,
that's ever going to happen. But when you
yeah.
take a minute, like I've been taking time off of my YouTube channel, not posting anything, not sharing anything, not really talking, like just being
Hmm.
quiet and reading, journaling. And with that, I've gained clarity, ideas, right? And things are happening that I couldn't will to happen for myself. And yes, that requires some
Mm.
faith, that requires
Yes,
some, you know, some belief that
yes,
I am deserving of good things, meaning that if I give
yes,
up this thing that is tearing me apart, that is
yes.
this the best that I want for myself? Is this the best that God would want for me? Is this my highest, option? If it's no, then let it go, right? And
Yeah.
be and I feel like sometimes when we let some things go, we make room for the different and the more. But sometimes
Yes.
that more and different can't come. One, because we're too exhausted to even notice it, right? Like we're too
Yep.
exhausted, we're too overwhelmed. But when we allow
Yes.
ourselves time to think, to pause, to be like, okay,
Yes.
if they're not showing you that they value you, you're running
Mhm.
6 homes. That's a lot of work. They're not
That's a
showing you
lot
that
of work.
that's a lot of work. And
That's
they don't
ridiculous.
value that. That's
Yeah.
energy. That's time
Yes.
away from what you could be doing. They should be
Yes.
able to compensate that. And if they can't, that's
Yes.
disrespectful. It's just
Absolutely.
disrespect. So,
Disrespect and a sign that you do
yes.
not belong there. You deserve so much better. And I just
Yes.
want to say just briefly that, recognizing that is hard because I think what happens is that we get in these cycles when we're trying to get more money or we're trying to get people like you're trying to prove things to for what, right? You're already good enough, like you talked about, right? Know your worth. You know that you deserve better than that. So if they don't recognize it, that is not the place for you, right? So I'm not saying leave immediately, right? Unless, physically, mentally, spiritually, you're like, I can't do this anymore. But what I'm saying to you is please start looking at your options and exploring your options. You deserve way better than that. If people do not value you, don't waste your time trying to convince them because like Alicia said, that takes away from your energy, right? You become exhausted. That takes away energy from you thinking about what your options are. That takes energy away from your creative energies. I know that my friends told me, when I kept trying to convince this job, like, look what I've done, look at it. They were like, stop, 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 stop now. Stop trying to convince them. And number two, the more you're trying to convince them, you're not open to your own creative energies. And I will just say to you, in terms of testimony, because we know Black people with testimony, right? I just want to share with you a testimony is that for me, when I left that job, oh my, so much creative energy was just downloaded to me, right? And I'm able to hear what God is saying to me in terms of what I need to do, and I'm able to walk in that purpose. So my hope, sis, is that you are able to really listen to what we're saying, right?
Yeah.
Reflect on it, think about your options, and recognize that is not the place for you. If they
Yeah.
do not recognize all your gifts and talents, the fact you're able to run 6 homes, that's outrageous,
It
right?
is.
That is not the place for you.
And
Okay. So thank
can
you
I
for
add one more
sharing.
thing? Sorry if
Absolutely.
I will also say you say you're a returning citizen. I hope
Yes.
that this is not a case where they're saying be grateful for what you're getting because if that's the case, leave. Like
Yeah.
they're asking for labor. Like just think you're giving so much of your labor. Like for way less than what your labor is worth, using air quotes.
Yeah.
But also, when you're trying to convince a place that you're worthy of paying, you're going to in turn like learn that you have to, okay, by trying to convince someone or a place or a job that you are worthy, you in turn lose your sense of worth and value because you're
Yes.
spending so much energy trying to convince someone to see something that you know is there, that you start thinking, well, maybe I'm not worth that. Maybe
Right.
I am asking for too much. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, no, you know,
Yes. So
and you can
that
do better.
internalized inferiority, right? And then,
Yes.
and again, that proving, and then just think about too, like it's robbing you of your best self. So as you go to the next opportunity, you're being robbed of your best self trying to fight with these people, right? It's not worth it. And I see also you added going on 7 years on an hourly salary. That's outrageous. No, no. And it feels like it's kind of like exploitative in many ways, right? So feel
It
like they can
is.
exploit you. Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
the place. That's not the
No.
place, sis. I love that you were referring to Harriet Tubman. I kept a poster sized postage stamp of her in my cubicle. She is now hanging in my home office. Love, love, love it. Hey, Alicia. That's
Oh,
from
hi.
Colette
Hi,
Elizabeth.
Colette.
I'm reading Restless Resistance now too. I'm actually listening to it so I can hear her voice.
Me too.
And
Yeah.
that's so soothing. This chat was much needed this morning. Thank you, ladies, and much love from California. Okay, I'm in LA. Okay. Okay, so thank you. So as we're winding down, Alicia, I'm wondering if you could share with the audience what types of services or products. I know you're a musician, so
Yeah.
share with people about how to access your music. Tell them about your YouTube channel, which is phenomenal,
Thank
right?
you.
So
Thank
share
you.
with them about their services and how they can contact you.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you can follow me everywhere at Alicia Renice. Like I said, I'm a multi-passionate artist, so you might see some photography, music, writing, some random things that I just try and experiment with and have fun with. As far as music, you can find me on Spotify at Alicia Renice. Anywhere that iTunes, I guess other places. I don't really have Apple, so but anywhere else that you can listen to music. I also have a YouTube channel. It's called Alicia Renice the Artist. Because I'm just owning the title. I am an artist, and I'm going to do the
You are an
things.
artist. Yes,
Yes,
you are.
yes,
Yes, you
and
are.
yes, and so like I said, my goal is to help Black women love themselves first, but also chase their dreams. And so this coming, I guess, New Year, I'm taking again. I took the last couple of weeks off. I'm getting myself ready for 2023, but in January, I will be launching or relaunching Get Unstuck and Get Started, helping women take their ideas to actually like doing them or starting them, beginning them. Yeah, so I'm excited. I'm really excited about
I
that.
love it.
Yes, and I also have a membership that I'm creating just to remind women that are loved, they are enough, that they're worthy. Having sessions together where we talk about some of the hard things like fear. And so yeah, you can catch me there. And on my YouTube channel, there's a link that you can join my email list, so you'll get all the information to all the things if you want to check it out. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yay. Okay. So everyone, I will put her information in the description section of YouTube.
Thank
And
you.
Alicia, I just want to send an open invitation to you that when you're ready to launch in January, if we can come back and have another conversation,
I would love
because I will,
that.
I want Black women to be able to know about the resources that we have to support healing, right?
Yes, yes,
And I think
yes.
that you are just such a powerful testimony that healing is possible. And I want people, and also I just want to say, Alicia, that like you radiate joy. Like when I
Oh,
listen to your YouTube channel, right, and your videos, I'm like, this woman radiates joy. And I just think about, no matter the things that you've talked, because you talked about you've gone through a lot of different things, right? Very painful things. But the fact that you're able to retain that joy
mm,
and share that joy, I
mm.
think that that's in such a powerful message too. So I
Thank
really
you.
want to again invite you to come back,
Yes.
as you're launching, so
Yes.
we can share this with other Black women. So
Yes.
as many Black women as possible can
Absolutely.
participate, right? That's what we want. We want
Yes.
it's healing for all of us, right? Healing is
Absolutely.
possible. We want
Yes.
healing for all of us, right?
Yes.
So you can't see my shirt, everybody, but I have on Black Girls Rock, right? Because I want us to remember that we rock as Black women, no
Yeah.
matter what messages the society tells us, right? No matter what these toxic jobs may tell us, we rock. We need to know our worth. We need to stand in our worth. We are not going to tolerate being in any environment, work environment, personal relationships, anything, friendships, where people don't recognize our worth and don't affirm us. Okay.
Yes.
So my hope is that you listen to this video, you share this video with other Black women, okay? Because we want to support the healing not only individually, but collectively, right? Because we cannot grow and heal if we are not together as a community. And
Yes.
also, my hope is that you subscribe to my channel, Lifting Us with Calm Consulting Wellness Services. And I look forward to seeing you guys in January. We have Alicia back as we talk about her launching, right? And so, my hope is that, all of us take this moment to really reflect on our lives and really start thinking about what it is that we need to heal, right? Because we need to heal so that we are able to leave toxic jobs. And my hope that the takeaway that you got from this is that you can leave a toxic job even though you're fearful. You can do it. Okay. I can attest to that. Alicia can attest to that too. Okay. And we are doing well. Okay. So
Yes.
don't think that once you leave, you're going to die. No, you will do well. Okay. So just know that. Okay. And just briefly, I do have a roadmap for Black women. If you are interested in getting your life in order, right? Checking your circle, evaluating your circle, and really a roadmap in terms of living the life that you deserve, because we are queens, right? I remember in my graduation, ceremony, Oprah Winfrey was our graduation speaker, and she talked about, in life that many people will try to treat you like a slave girl, but you are a queen girl, and you remember that, right? And I can tell you how many times I remember that. So many times I'm living at these toxic jobs or this one particular toxic job. I had to remember I'm a queen girl. So you want me to bow down? I'm not bowing down to you because I'm a queen girl, right? So I want everyone to remember that you are a queen girl, right? If you want information about the roadmap that I talked about, the Welcome to Your Queendom Digital Fillable Workbook, I'll have that in the description section as well. So everyone have a good rest of your day. And thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank again my guest,
Oh,
Alicia.
thank
Please
you.
subscribe to her channel. And everyone have a good rest of your day. Alicia, if you could stay on for one moment, okay?
Sure. Yeah.